If you're anything like me, from time to time, you let the smallest things hold you back. This episode is all about not letting those things get in the way. It's about overcoming. It's about pushing through. It's about tricking your brain into doing the things that you know you can do and you know you were built to do. And this episode is going to feature a guest that you have never seen before, who himself has an amazing story that's going to motivate and inspire. Check this out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. This guy hails from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He is a account executive with eLend. He is a friend of mine that I met years ago through the mortgage industry. He's a fan of TLOP, and he's in Orlando, Florida, because his daughter just so happens to have a volleyball tournament. He's the man, he's the myth, and in his own eyes, he's the legend. The one, the only Nick Mundorf. Nick, welcome to the Loan Officer Podcast.
Man, thanks for having me. That was such a good intro.
Yes, you were waiting for that, right? This is 2 years in the making.
Yeah, no, I've heard it so many times, and I'm like, I just want it one time. I finally got it. So
one
awesome.
time. You know what? I know you're not a big drinker, but if you can get me out, like maybe on a cruise ship in September with a couple of adult beverages in me, I could maybe just sit back and we could just do intros for like an hour for anybody who comes up on the ship. They're like, hey, Dio, give me my TLOP intro. That'd be like a fun after dinner event. What do you think?
Well, or just getting people on the ship. That would be a good idea. Like one at a time, you have to intro everybody in. That would be awesome. Right?
That
then
would be
gets
legit.
that feeling. Yeah.
That would be legit. Hey, by the way, shout out to Karina Mojica.
Hi,
welcome back, Karina.
hello. Thank you.
Yes, she is our producer extraordinaire. She is JC's replacement. What do you think? Did we did we upgrade?
I love JC, but yes, I did say
I
this
feel
was
like
an
people
upgrade.
aren't gonna like that.
Yeah, I tell you what, Nick is so special that literally JC went to Iowa and went to dinner with Nick, and
wow.
y'all know that does not happen easily.
Oh wow!
Like
yeah.
we got JC to travel and hang out with mortgage people, and he went to dinner afterwards. So yeah, you and JC definitely have a special bond. So we're gonna jump right into today's episode, Nick, and it's gonna be a quasi, right? Like we teased it with what we're gonna be teaching, and we're gonna be teaching 5 lessons that I have personally learned throughout the past 20 years of being a grown-ass adult, of scaling and building and growing businesses, of being in sales. But I also want people to get to know you and your journey, because you have an incredible story yourself, right? You and I are both wearing these bracelets that have FTWC on them. Mm-hmm. The monkeys that are hanging out with us on the table, which, by the way, you can't see the monkeys if you're not tuned in on YouTube. But anyone who's watching us on YouTube, you can see our see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil monkeys. They're rocking the FTWC. You are someone who's been living with diabetes, right? Life's been throwing you some challenges. Mm-hmm. And you're also on your own journey to start getting into content and podcasting for the sole purpose of shining a light on people who maybe go unlooked and unnoticed, but they're people that are persevering and people that we all can learn from because they're inspiration. So we're going to get into all that and then some, and I'm going to start off with you telling us, what does FTWC stand for? But before we do that, we have to pay some bills. So let's take a quick pause so we can hear from today's show sponsor. Y'all, something big is happening at Lower Mortgage. And if you're paying attention to this industry, you've probably noticed. In just the last month alone, Lower has added some serious horsepower. We're talking top producers representing over $350 million in volume. These aren't rookies kicking tires. These are heavy hitters who've done their homework and made the move. That should tell you something. On top of that, Lower just acquired Movoto, a top 5 real estate portal with over 150 visitors just last year. Before that, they brought in Neat Labs, and now they're launching Lower OS, a next-gen mortgage platform that's cutting loan delivery times down to 10 days. This isn't a company standing still. Lower doubled their volume last year, and they're projecting another 40 to 50% growth this year. The best in the business are taking notice, and they're voting with their feet. Here's the reality. The companies that are going to win in this market are the ones investing in technology, building real infrastructure, and competing at scale. Lower is doing all of that. They're going head to head with the rockets of the world, and they're built for originators, not against them. If you're a producer who wants to be a part of something that's actually going somewhere, not just surviving, but growing, this is the moment. Lower Mortgage, the momentum is real. All right, Nick, so we're back. Let's start with FTWC. I'm rocking it. It's on my wrist. You're rocking it on your wrist. The monkeys are rocking it. Karina, do you have your FTWC bracelet?
I don't. You give them to the monkeys, but it's okay. The monkeys can have
Yo, are you saying that the monkeys took preference over you?
Yes.
Okay, never again.
It's okay.
Never again. We'll hook you up with your own once the show's over with. But Nick, what is FTWC?
So the FTWC is for those who can't, and it's something that started honestly. So probably with my running journey, I don't think I've maybe ever got into it really with you, but about 2 years ago, I was around. I guess I was around 270. I was a little on the heavier side.
270 pounds. Now, Nick is 6'4", so he carries 270 better than most of us would. But at 270 pounds, that was still you being overweight. Yeah.
And so my brother, he was about 300, and he actually came to me and he said, Nick, I know you work out, because I did, but he's like, I need to start getting myself right, and what can we do? And so we just started with this little interval training. We would do like a minute 30 walk, a minute 30 run, and we would do that for about 15 minutes on the way out. And then we'd do about 15 minutes on the way back. And then that turned into like 2 miles, and then 4 miles, and all of a sudden it was like 6 miles, and then we did a couple half marathons, and it's like, all right, now we're starting to go. But what happened for me was, so I got a couple bracelets on, right? One's the FTWC. The other one, it actually says Joshua 1:9, and it says just drew it. So back in the day at Sunday school, my wife and I were teaching it, and there was a young boy that actually had cancer, and it was in his leg. And they amputated his leg. It spread further, and of course, long story short, it ended up taking his life because of it. And so that story, and then there was another one of one of my old coworkers back from a credit union I worked at years ago. She was actually killed by a drunk driver. And so as I would be out running, and things, of course, you get to mile 4, 5, 6, and you're like, why am I doing this? Why don't I just stop? And but then I would say, like, for those who can't, in my head, that's exactly what would come up. And I would think about Drew, and I would think about Bonnie, and I would think about anybody that's ever really lost something. And, then I think, like, all right, you can do this because they don't get to, right? And that's what for those who can't's about.
So I've never shared this with anybody, and I'll try not to choke up when I talk about it, because I don't talk about it very often, but it must have been, holy cow, maybe 10 years ago, I lost one of my best friends. And when I met him, rest in peace, Sean Jeffries. When I met Sean, he was a recovering addict, right? We worked together. He was the top sales guy at the TV station I worked for originally, like before I was even in the mortgage industry. And he and I just kind of hit it off, and we shared a love for offshore fishing, and we used to go fishing together every weekend. When I moved to Orlando, he eventually moved up to Orlando too, and we just spent a lot of quality time together. And when I got into my fitness journey and I started doing my endurance training, because we lost Sean 10 years ago, one thing that Sean loved to do is he loved to run. He had done the New York City Marathon. He had done the Chicago Marathon at a time when I was still, quote unquote, allergic to running. But I remember the first half marathon I did, and then now every Ironman I've done, there's always a part in the race where I'm like, all right, Sean, like, it's your time.
Yeah.
So for you, it's like FTWC for everyone who can't. So I freaking love it. I freaking love it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you shared that, because that's what this is about. And honestly, like, I think everybody has a story like this.
Yeah.
But what this does to me anyway, and there's books out there that talk about like purpose and the purpose-driven life and everything. But for me, it's like, all right, what drives you? Like, what motivates you? What fuels you? And, for me, like, obviously we have our kids, we have our wives, we have just all the good things we have. but there's a lot more out there. And, you only get one of these lives. And so for me, that's kind of where, I'm glad I got into this fitness journey because, now my brother doesn't have to take the medication that we were worrying about, that he was worrying about with his blood pressure. And two, yes, I am diabetic. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning. And I was at a crossroads when I was 18, or probably 16, 17, 18, where it was like, all right, Nick, you keep going this way, you're going to die. Or you go this way and you can live, And so I went the live way, which was good. And that was, a lot of it was because of my wife. She kind of helped ground me and she kind of helped made me who I am today. But she's been a big inspiration for that. And, with that.
Inspiration, or was she like a drill sergeant?
An inspired drill sergeant.
I love Karina. Did you see how he paused?
Yeah.
He paused. He's like, ooh, depends. Is she going to listen or watch this episode? How am I going to answer this?
She might.
She might.
Yeah.
Okay. But your wife inspired you to make a change. Your brother inspired you to make a change. Mm-hmm. And change isn't easy. Change is hard. But the one thing that keeps you motivated is being reminded to do these for the people who can't do it.
So I ran my first marathon last year, which again, I've never thought I would run a marathon. It was bad. It was 4 hours and 30 minutes, right?
That's not bad.
It was, so the goal was like 3:45 was the goal. And I'll hit it this year. So I'm going to try to do the Washington DC has a Marine Corps marathon.
Yes.
That opens in April. But I'll tell you what, when you get to mile 20, your head feels like 1,000 pounds. Because, I'm walking with my head down a little bit and all of a sudden it comes up and like, oh my gosh, this is so heavy. But all of my practice runs, I went to about 18, 19 was the most because I was giving up a little bit on some of these long runs, but it's very hard.
So
did
hard.
you
did you bonk at the end of your race? I don't want this whole episode to turn into racing, but I'm just curious. You said 4:30. So if you're doing a 4:30, you're probably averaging, what is it, like a 10-minute mile?
Yeah, it's like 10:15 or something.
Okay,
like that.
And you were hoping to average closer to like a 9:15.
Probably like an 8:45-ish or something like that. Yeah.
What was your training like indicating that you could have held an 8:45?
Yeah, so I don't know if you're big on like the VO or the VDOT and stuff like that. Yeah, so my VDOT's like 44, which I don't really know what that means. But it says that my full marathon should be around 3:30, 3:45.
That's fast, by the way.
But I have a lot to learn about running, and I'm still getting there.
Well, I remember one of my first coaches when I got in triathlon. Like he told me, he goes, "Hey, I need to teach you how to race." Because he goes, look, you're swimming, you're biking, you're running, but you don't know how to race. Yeah. And I guess on race day, there's just a certain strategy. And I'm learning it. Like the one thing that they teach us in triathlon on the run portion is my first 2 miles should be slower than my last 2 miles. Right? It's getting us, because I'm coming off a bike after 56 miles, or heck, in October, I'm going to be 112 miles on a bike. Your legs are warm.
Yeah.
You can't hit the ground running and start doing an 8-minute mile when your training says you should be running a 10-minute mile.
Sure.
Right? So it's just a reminder that once you learn how to race, then you go out a lot slower and you say that I leave some gas in the tank so that I can finish the race strong. Mm-hmm. So I was just curious, you didn't hit your goal time. So you completed a marathon better than most people have ever done. You were probably proud, but a little bit disappointed. I was just curious, what held you back? Was it the heat? Was it your nutrition? Or was it just those last 5 miles and your body just wasn't trained to go that far?
So yeah, I do have a coach, and we had a plan that I was supposed to be at about an 8:30 the whole time, and that was the goal. But when I first started the race, so I wear a sensor for my diabetes, and the sensor, if you have 3 lines on it, that's a bad sign. It means your blood sugars aren't reading.
Okay.
And so I had just put the sensor on, the brand new one, because you switch them out every 10 days. I just put a new sensor on about 1 day before the race, okay? It felt fine, but then it gets to race time, and I have 3 lines.
Oh,
and
no.
I am about 3 miles in when I notice I'm at 3 lines. So it was either you quit, right, and you DNF, or B, you're going to run as fast as you can, or not as fast as you can, but faster. And so then I ended up getting up to about an 8-minute mile, and I got to about 8 minutes for about 13 miles. And I felt pretty good. I got to the half marathon and I'm like, man, you're really doing this. Like, this is going. And then all of a sudden, miles 16, 17, I ended up stopping and going to the bathroom quick. And that was a bad thing, right? At that point, you need to just keep going. I stopped, but that was where I feel like I overdid it at the beginning, and I suffered because of that.
Yeah,
in
you
the
burn
end.
your matches is what we call it. At least in triathlon, we call it burning your matches.
Yeah.
Well, I've never run a full marathon. I'm running my first full marathon this October in Portugal. It's just going to be after I swim 2.4 miles.
So you're doing the
and
full.
after I bike 112
Yeah,
miles.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm doing the full. I've been wanting to do a full. I've done 4 half Ironmans, but I'm doing the full Ironman because my daughter finally graduates from high school this year. And my promise to my wife and my daughter is I wouldn't take on training for a full Ironman while she was still in the house. She's still in school, but my wife and I take her up to Tallahassee to enroll in Florida State University this summer. And once she moves out, then the agreement has always been I can take on this full-time training because training ends up becoming a second full-time job, especially when you're trying to do a full Ironman. What if one trip could elevate your personal brand for the entire year? On April 14th and 15th, our friends over at First Home IQ are taking loan officers to Washington, D.C. for the MBA's National Advocacy Conference, which happens to be my favorite event of the year. But let's be clear, this is not about politics. This is about an opportunity for leadership and visibility. Only 1 in 8 next-gen buyers trust loan officers, and 6 out of every 10 feel the housing system is rigged against them. Building trust happens locally in how you show up, educate, and listen. But it only happens nationally when you show your market that you're on the Hill advocating for policies that protect them. Here's the game plan. Weeks before going to DC, you're going to be creating content. The content's going to be about why you're going, why affordability matters in your market, why first-time home buyers need better solutions. Now, when you're in DC, First Home IQ is going to be bringing in a professional video and social media team. You're going to walk away with video reels, behind-the-scenes content from Capitol Hill, direct-to-camera footage, content that positions you as a trusted housing leader in your state and local community. And here's the strategy. Most LOs talk about affordability. Very few show up on Capitol Hill to fight for it. When your referral partners see you advocating face-to-face with lawmakers, that signals leadership. Consumers trust individual professionals more than institutions. The mission is clear. This is a pivotal year for home affordability. It's a pivotal year for First Home IQ's mission, and it's the 250th birthday of America. We're aiming for LOs from every state advocating together for housing affordability and sustainable home ownership. You'll meet lawmakers. You'll learn how policy works. First Home IQ is going to give you the talking points. You'll know exactly what to say and why it matters. The visibility you create before, during, and after DC will reach your local market in a way no ad ever could. Washington needs more LOs in the room. Your state needs representation. Your borrowers need advocates. And your personal brand deserves elevation. This is a movement. This is your chance to sign up. Join hundreds of mortgage professionals. March on Capitol Hill. Go to Washington, D.C. Make sure your voice is heard, and here's how you do it. All you need to do is go to www.firsthomeiq.com/MBA advocacy. That is firsthomeiq.com/MBA ADVOCACY. So here's what I want to do. There's 5 lessons that I've actually pre-prepared for you and I to cover. Karina, I would love for you to interject or ask questions along the way. But these are 5 lessons that I've learned over the past 20 years. I've also picked them up by studying others' success, and I'm sure some of them have been things that you've also experienced, Nick. And I want the audience to be able to walk away with like 5 tangible takeaways and tie downs. And at the same time, I would like to hear about the podcast that you plan on doing, because I think there's going to be a lesson in here that's going to be my call to action to you on, I'm going to call you out a little bit, and you've had the idea, you have the passion, you've had the equipment, you haven't taken the equipment out of the box yet.
Yep.
One of these lessons applies to you, and maybe at that moment of going over that lesson, we can dive a little bit deep into previewing what type of content you're going to be creating so that people who like this episode can look you up, start following you in hopes that they become one of your first listeners, one of your first subscribers. All right, so the first lesson I have learned throughout my career is this one. Some will, some won't. Who cares? Move on. So when you hear me say that, what does some will, some won't, who cares, move on mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's you're not going to be liked by everybody. You're not going to get a deal from everybody. So instead of, spending your time on the ones that aren't following you or that aren't doing business with you, maybe you move on to the ones that are.
Yeah, it's 100% what it means. Mm-hmm. Karina, when I say that, does anything come to your mind that's different? No?
No, I think the same thing. It's like some people are for you, some people aren't. You just have to, who cares, and just.
Does that work in your friend group as well?
I think so, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some people don't make as much effort as I would to maybe hang out or something, and you just got to move on. You just got to focus your time on those people who do. Yeah,
the one thing that sometimes concerns other people is the who cares part, right? It's like some will, some won't. Who cares? But who cares is my way of just reminding myself it's no big deal. Because I do care, right? If somebody doesn't like me, I care. If I didn't win that transaction, I care. But the mantra is to be embraced that it doesn't say don't care at all. What it means is care for that moment, look for areas of improvement, but you have to move on.
Yeah.
Right? Because what did our parents say? There's no crying over spilled milk. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't know what that really means, but I guess it's like the milk's already on the ground, right? There's nothing we can do about it. Clean it up and move on. The second lesson is the word next. And I just posted about this on LinkedIn as I was actually preparing for today's episode. And my story is one in which I learned this early in my career. Now, not the earliest, like I was probably 3-4 years into graduating college when I learned this, but I had a manager. Shout out to Rob Mitchum. He's not in the mortgage industry anymore, but enough people probably still know or keep in contact with Rob. You can tell him I said, what's up? But I remember one day, it was probably like 5:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. Rob comes by my workstation. He's getting ready to go home for the night, and I'm working some loan file, trying to get some borrower to do something I need them to do. And he looked at me and goes, "Oh, you got a new loan, Dio?" I'm like, nah, this is the Harding file. He's like, "Weren't you working on that last week?" I'm like, "Yep." He's like, "Dude, let me teach you the best 4-letter word in sales." And of course, my mind goes to fuck, shit, damn. I'm like, those are some of my favorite 4 letters. And he laughed. He's like, "No, man, next. N-E-X-T, next. The best 4-letter word in sales is next." And next probably coincides or runs parallel with some will, some won't, who cares, move on. But can you remember a moment in your life where like next, like you just had to say next, whether it's next play, next pitch, next up?
Yeah. I mean, I coach a lot of youth sports, so it is talking about that. But it's crazy that you mentioned, an old colleague I had. So I started originating back in probably 2015, 2016-ish. And my boss, who was the VP of lending, I loved her. She was great. She really helped kind of get me to where I am today. But so being the guy that I am, I wanted to help everybody. I wanted to help everybody and everyone. And, oftentimes you're spinning your wheels, right? You're like, wait, why are you doing this when you could be out getting your next 3 deals? And that was one thing that she actually told me. She's like, "Hey, I appreciate that you're spending this time trying to make this deal work, but you probably could have gotten 3 more deals in the time that it took to get you that one." And so that did settle with me a lot. And then something just back to that first one too, I did listen to that book, Let Them, by Mel Robbins.
Oh, I love Let Them.
And I use that with my kids a lot, but it's just, you talk about like all right, hey, forget about that, or who cares, move on. That actually really resonated well with me, because there are times in this life, there's so many things that are out of your control, and that's where it's like, all right, get going. The more you sit and dwell on something, it's not going to be good for you. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your energy. You're wasting resources, whatever it is, so move on to the next one.
Yeah, if someone were to look up Nick Mundorf on LinkedIn, are you active on LinkedIn?
Mm-hmm.
You are.
Very
right?
active.
So you would go and you would see Nick just recently made a career move,
mm-hmm.
right? But that was something that came at you from left field. It was a bit of life throwing you a curveball, and guess what you had to do? Next.
I had to say next.
Yeah, next. Hey, next up. Next pitch, next play, next up. Right? This wasn't anticipated, wasn't even maybe wanted, but companies make decisions that they think is best for their business model moving forward. And if it impacts you or impacts someone in your family, the best thing we can say is next, and we move on. This next one, I think I've learned it and known it for most of my career. But it's something that, man, if you want to see me get on a soapbox, pound my chest, and get fired up, because it's where I see most people are slacking in our industry, it's this lesson. Get up every morning, put on your uniform, and go to work. And if you're at work, work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Get up every morning, put on your uniform. And this comes about because when I study originators or realtors or financial advisors or account managers, anyone who is entrepreneurial, 100% commission, they run their own business, like we all of a sudden think, I guess we're better than school teachers. I guess we're better than school bus drivers. I guess we're better than nurses. I guess we're better. And when I bring that up to these people, they're like, I don't think that. I'm like, well, your actions dictate that you think that because you're not getting up every morning and putting on your uniform, right? When I think of this, and when you put on your uniform, that means you put on your work clothes and you go to work. And when you're at work, work. Like, don't go to work and watch movies, which some people do. Don't go to work and spend all your time following what's going on in the Olympics and the elections or with the Real Housewives of whatever city they're in today. Like, if you're at work, actually do something that moves the needle. And if you do that consistently for weeks, months, and then eventually years, it's like amazing at where you can be. But better yet, you've inspired me, Nick, to add this. Get up, put on your uniform, go to work for those who can't. For those, think about how many people would love to have your opportunity. They'd love to have your courage, your brain, your physical ability, but you don't do it. But if you were, imagine what if, right? Has there been a time in your life when you've had to either be reminded to get up every day, put on your uniform? Maybe you had a boss that called you out, or a time in your life where, you had to pull yourself up from the bootstraps and embrace that.
So I think, there's been, I don't want to sound, disrespectful about this, but I think there's been a sense of entitlement. And I think not just in our industry, but just kind of all over, where there's the lack of work, right? People think that, I can go do something and be great at it and just stop, right? But greatness is something that you have to keep going, you have to pursue. And that's what, I think about that a lot when if I'm talking to my kids about if they're wanting to be a D1 player, or if I'm talking, to myself about wanting to be successful, it's like, hey, you got to keep making those calls. You got to keep sending those emails. You got to keep showing up. And that was the biggest thing that I heard, especially back in the MI days when I was working for Arch. Shout out to Arch MI.
Shout out to Arch MI.
But was, hey, all you got to do is show up, right? Because a lot of these people, they want you there, right? And so I think that's one thing for me. I love that you say that, because, you oftentimes forget, and you get sidetracked, right? The world is so sidetracked with everything that's going on, right? It's hard not to turn on the TV and, hear about all the political stuff or all the stuff that's happening. It's like, if we just put our head down and focus in, we could get a lot more done. And that's what I think too about running as well.
Yeah,
so,
it's hard not to turn on the TV and say to yourself, what the fuck?
Oh, that's awkward.
It's not even working. What, this thing's supposed to say WTF?
I know. I was waiting for it to happen.
Yeah. Oh,
I was waiting for it to
goodness.
come in,
What
and
the
then
heck?
it just went
thing's not
away.
even
The
working.
silence.
Oh, and the worst part is if someone's like listening on Spotify or Apple right now,
And they're like-
they can't really see what happened. But this is like pure comedic relief. This little button that I'm holding up, it says WTF on it, and it has pre-programmed 5 different versions of someone saying WTF. And all of a sudden, it worked just yesterday. It's not working. Maybe Nick broke it. You know what?
No,
Let's
I bet
try
the
this one.
batteries. I bet
Let's
it's the
try this
batteries.
That was
Oh, I
easy.
thought it was-
There we go. Hey, the easy button still works, nonetheless. Nonetheless, let's get on number 4, because number 4, Nick, this is what I'm going to call you out on. We learn and build as we grow. So many times, especially like when I'm onboarding a new branch, or I'm growing a branch, or I'm bringing in a new originator into the industry, or I'm trying to get someone to be more active on social, or start teaching lunch and learns, whatever the case may be. Everybody wants to have all the answers first. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, that's not how life works. Life does not work by having all the answers first. I know this from firsthand experience. This is a build and learn as you grow, right? So I'm looking at you right now, and you have this amazing idea for a podcast. And where is your podcast equipment right now, Nick?
It's in my closet, still in the box.
It's in your closet, still in the box. How long have you owned it for?
Ooh.
Okay, you have
Maybe
to think about it.
4 months?
4 months.
No.
All right. You're a grown-ass man. You just turned 40 years old, right?
Yep.
Okay. And it's not like you're a good-looking, athletic guy who has like a purpose, right? Your podcast is going to do really well, especially if you're willing to stick it out, right? Come up with a cadence, do it for a minimum of 12, if not 24 months. But like, you have a podcast where what's going to be the name of the show?
You know, I wanted it to be like purpose from your table.
Okay. And then
So-
what's the general idea of purpose from your table?
Yeah, the idea was to show up at people's houses that have gone through some trauma, and, you know, to really kind of talk about how they found purpose from the trauma, and then kind of what they're doing next, you know. So one local gal, they're planting trees for her husband who passed away. And there's, you know, different events. You know, when you see like any 5K or 10K or, you know, some of the big races, they're all for something. But I think, you know, that's the important thing is like, all right, so what are you doing? I mean, what are you doing with your kids, you know, and how are they looking to do? Because I've always said, when you do something with purpose, it's better than doing it for nothing at all. And I think that your results are way better too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So if we build and we learn as we grow, what's holding you back?
I'm not a technical person. And, you know, somebody actually made the comment like, oh, you need to just do this. And so I went out, I created the, you know, I trademarked the name. I think I went out to the IRS. I got my 501(c)(3). I paid to do that. And, you know, and that's like, okay, just start doing it. And so I started taking these steps, and now I feel like I'm just at a standstill. And it's honestly probably just me being in the midst of, you have a new job, you're still training for a marathon, you're married with 2 kids who are active in sports. You know, it's like, oh, now try to squeeze in this this extra thing as well, which I think is still important. So.
It's important, but it's also doable. I mean, that's the one thing that the first time I did 75 hard, I walked away from. My wife and I were talking about this last night. It taught me, yes, I can. Like, 'cause I want to do 75 hard again. The problem is, not a problem. The reason why I won't is I'm getting ready to go into my Ironman training. Well, look, I'm not doing 2 workouts a day when my Saturday is going to be a 5-hour bike ride. Mm-hmm. Right? I will exercise 20 hours a week, but I'm not going to go into that extreme. But 75 hard changed me. And it changed me because it taught me, yes, I can. Right? So anytime someone says there's not enough hours in the day, yes, there are. It's a matter of how structured do you want to be? How disciplined with your time do you want to be? But the answer is like, yes, you can. So I'll tell you, yes, you can do it. Right? It's a matter of let's start with the end in mind and let's work backwards. You're not going to have all the answers. Right? You're going to learn as you grow. You're going to build as you grow. I mean, look at Karina right now. Karina's leap years ahead with producing the show than she was 90 days ago. Mm-hmm. But you know what I'm really excited about? How good she'll be a year from now. Right? Like 1 year from now, Karina's going to be the best podcast producer in all of the Southeast. Right? Right now, JC's done a lot to help her to get to where she's at. And with more repetition and more mistakes and more at-bats, she will get to that #1 producer in the Southeast for all podcasts. on your end, I would remind you, hey, look, you build and learn as you grow. Let's find a way to, let's work backwards. If you're going to do 2 episodes a month, right? 2 episodes a month, you're going to drop them every other Friday or the 15th and the 30th, whatever your cadence is going to be. Then you have to find someone who's going to edit and produce it for you. You could probably find a high schooler and pay him $100 to do that.
Yeah.
Like you probably could. And that high schooler would love the $100, and whatever quality they put out was the best quality that day. Mm-hmm. And that quality was better than the quality you have right now, because the quality right now is it sits in your closet.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's got some dust on it now.
I had teased a little bit, but it is the truth. Like, we all have things that we're not getting to, that we're not doing. And if we can just remind ourselves, like, look, I'm not going to have all the answers. It's okay. I will learn and I will build as I grow. My friend Danielle Anderson taught me this one, and I'm sure she heard it from somebody else, but she talks about you don't need to see the top of the stairs in order to take the first step. So imagine a staircase, and imagine it being really foggy or really smoky. But all of your research has indicated that moving upwards on that staircase is what's best for you. Mm-hmm. Are you not going to take the first step if you can't see the top of the staircase? Or will you be like, you know what, let me get to the first step, because I'm sure once I get to the first step, maybe I can see 2 steps ahead. You take 2 more steps, and they're like, oh, now I can see 5 more steps. You take all 5. Eventually, if it's a 20-step staircase, you get to the top. Mm-hmm. And maybe the top is where you were trying to go, or it's at least one level closer to where you're trying to go. But I don't have to see the top of the staircase in order to take the first step. And that's what, like, build and learn as you grow has really meant. It's the one thing, when people ask us about the success of the Lone Officer Podcast and TLOP, the one thing that we did really well that many others weren't willing to do is we just started and we never quit. And that was it. And that was my mentality going into it, because I had a great mentor when I got into the mortgage industry. And he said to me, if you can give me 2 years of your life, I will guarantee you a successful career in mortgage. He didn't guarantee me I'd like it, but he guaranteed me a successful career. He said, but if I can't guarantee him 2 years, he goes, I can't guarantee you shit. And those were his words. Shout out to Steve Walsh. Steve Walsh, University of Miami quarterback back in the 80s. He was a high draft pick in the NFL, played several years in the NFL. And I was probably 24, 25 years old. I remember he took my wife and I to dinner before I went off to training. And that was his one piece of information, or one piece of advice that stuck with me, was just that. And by all means, I did that. Like, I stuck it out. I got up every morning. I put on my uniform. Most mornings I didn't want to. I didn't like waking up that early. My uniform back then, by the way, was a freaking suit. Home Bank Mortgage Corporation, you went to work in 2004, 2005, still dressed like a banker. And I did it every single day, every week, every month for about, 24 months before I started feeling like I made it. Month 20, y'all, I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit the mortgage industry on month 20. And I just remembered, Steve made me give him my word that I would stick it out for 2 years. And I did. But by the way, on month 20, when I decided not to quit, it wasn't that I wasn't going to quit. It was, I just have to go 4 more months and then I can quit. Mm-hmm. Right? But, I didn't quit, because over those month 20, or through month 20 and month 24, I built some more. I learned some more. And I finally got to a place where I was like, oh, I'm kind of getting good at this. People are starting to actually refer me. I'm actually closing loans. I'm actually making money. Mm-hmm. Number 4, lesson 4, build and learn as you grow.
If you're a licensed originator who's closing loans, but you're not consistent, this is for you. If you're brand new or just looking for motivation, trust me, this is not for you. Most LOs don't need more information. They need structure. They need proven processes and somebody to hold them accountable. TLOP's Originator Coaching gives you weekly live coaching, scripts top producers actually use, and step-by-step business systems you can implement immediately. Not someday, we're talking day one. You're not watching videos alone. You're executing in real time with other originators who take this seriously. Right now, you can try it free for 2 weeks. That's 2 full weeks for free. You'll sit in on live coaching calls. You'll get access to the frameworks and see exactly how top producers run their business. If it creates clarity, if it creates momentum, or even if it puts wins on the board, you keep going. If it doesn't, no worries, you can cancel. No pressure at all. Click the link, start the 2-week trial, and finally, build this like a business, not a side hustle.
And then the last one is number 5 for me today, because it's probably the one I haven't mastered. Not that I've mastered the other 4, but I think I'm pretty proficient in the other 4. The 5th one, I was 2 weeks ago struggling with this one. Quit looking for friends, start looking for business. Have there been times in your career, Nick, when you were too consumed or too caught up in, is this person going to be my friend? Are they going to like me?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think that's something I think about a lot, and I really do think that a lot of it comes from the friends will come, I think, with the business. So like once you hit one, they'll start coming. And that's what I've found out over the years, being, I guess, an MI rep or being a correspondent wholesale rep, you start making these calls, you start talking to people, and the next thing you know, you have their cell phone. You're going to events with them. You're wanting to run races with them. You're doing things that it's like, all right, like we weren't friends that long ago, and all of a sudden, so from being these business partners, now we're wanting to start kind of doing things outside together, which to me, it worked out. So I think that that's kind of what it is for me anyway. It's like finding a commonality. Like, yeah, I'm not trying to necessarily sell you on something that much, but let's talk business first. And then usually once you do that, I think you can find a way around it. But
yeah, like we need to be personal. We need to build rapport. We're looking for people who have commonality with us. But I struggle because my personality is one in which I need to be liked. Right? Like I need to be liked. And if someone's not liking me or they don't like some parts about me, as much as I try to have that long, hard conversation with the man in the mirror and I try to coach myself and work through the process of how that doesn't need to matter, it's not my natural, right? My natural is needing to be liked. But I had a realtor pull me aside somewhat early in my career, probably 7 years in, and look, we were doing a lot of business together. She was my top agent for years. And then as she built a team, her team was my top team. And then she built a brokerage, and I had a great relationship with her brokerage. But when she was still producing herself, she pulled me aside and goes, hey, you're getting too territorial. And I was like, huh? She's like, look, you're our guy, and we love the work that you do, but I need to have other lenders, and I'm going to refer other lenders. But I was starting to get my feelings hurt, and I was letting people feel that I was getting my feelings hurt, because to me, these were my friends. Mm-hmm. And this was like family, and we worked together, and I didn't like the fact that they allowed other lenders to come into their brokerage and other lenders were being referred by them. And that was probably a pivotal moment for me that I was like, okay, I'm their vendor who I happen to like them and I like to socialize with them outside of work. But my friends are my friends. My family is my family. And for the most part, I'm looking for clients and customers. And so now I still struggle because I'll give you an example. I recently hired a team to come in and help me do some cold outreach, we'd call it, right? LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm connected to all these people. A lot of people are following me. I follow them, but we're not really engaged doing business together. Mm-hmm. And there's not enough hours in the day for me to sit back and get on Sales Navigator through LinkedIn and send 40 or 70 or 90 messages. But I can hire an outside person, right? Because sometimes it's not about how, it's about who. And that person can work with me and use my account to get my message out. And my message right now is pretty clear. I have this program called Launch. It's a boot camp. It's amazing. No one else in the industry is doing Launch or doing a boot camp like this. And this boot camp is for people who are full-time, professional, in growth mode, and they're not funding at least 4 loans a month already, right? So, but if you check all 4 boxes, I have a boot camp that can turn you into a top producer within 6 months. So I've been doing it for 3 years. I have amazing results. So now I want to bring this to the entire mortgage industry. It's been very boutique and very elite and selective up until now, but I want to get it out there. And my goal is companies like Lower or American Pacific Mortgage or Novus Home Mortgage or, I mean, you name Guild, Guaranteed Rate, Cross Country, right? Even companies that have their own internal coaching are going to look at this program and say, wait a minute, Dustin, I have 30 or 40 LOs that they need this. And my coaching internally doesn't offer this type of boot camp style, right? So I want to do this. I'm putting out in the universe for all to hear. But in order to do so, I need to expand or get more exposure to it. So I had this person sending cold DMs. Well, wouldn't you know, she sends cold DMs to at least a dozen people that I was like, Saturday morning getting ready to go on a bike ride. Oh my God, I can't believe she did that. Like she sent one to Joel Kahn. Joel Kahn's a buddy of mine. Joel Kahn is one of the head economists at the Mortgage Bankers Association. Joel Kahn's not buying lunch. Joel Kahn doesn't have a ability to put 30 or 40 LOs into this boot camp. But I had to remember, as much as I love and respect Joel, I'm looking for business. I can easily go to Joel and be like, hey man, my bad. Just got a new assistant, right? He or she is super aggressive. That wasn't meant for you. She sent a message to one of my old colleagues at a company I resigned from 2 years ago. And I was like, oh God, that wasn't meant for him. But you know what? He responded. What's up, DO? I'm currently at our sales conference. Let me get back to you. Yet my knee-jerk reaction was that of embarrassment or like disdain, or I was so afraid that that was going to impact my relationship. Yet every person that it went to that I wasn't supposed to go to, every person was like totally cool with it. And that's just my reminder that I need to quit looking for friends. I have friends. I have so many friends that I don't even see them. I have so many friends that I got rid of a couple of them recently and it didn't even hurt my feelings, right? Because I have a wife and I have kids. And so I'm not looking for a family. I'm not looking for a spouse. I'm looking for people to serve as clients and as customers. And if we have a great relationship like Nick, you and I do, and we want to do things like hang out outside of work, which by the way, whenever Nick and I are in the same city, we do go on runs together. Mm-hmm. And we are going to go to lunch together today, right? But at the end of the day, like we met over business. And if our relationship never makes it past that of friends and business, like I should be good with that. You should be good with that. And I think the people who tune in should be good with that. I think we need to quit looking for friends and we need to look to have great relationships with our clients and our customers. And at the end of the day, most of us are just looking for business.
See, so I see exactly where you went with that. And I think you and I struggle. I mean, we have a lot of similarities. I mean, I think that
we're both tall.
I think our wives were both teachers, right? Your wife was a teacher.
Both our wives are teachers. We both like to run. We both have two kids.
Keep going. But I think we both
like hip hop and country.
I struggle with.
We both have tattoos. You want me to keep going? I mean, like we both have gray beards. I mean, where else do you want me to go?
Yeah, that's true. Dang it! But I do have hair though, so that's the one difference. Yeah, that's the one difference.
Look, I mean, I can carry some hair on my legs,
but it's a lot of gray though.
It is a lot.
So yeah. But no, I think that's a very similar thing that we have, and that's really cool because I do struggle with that as well. Like, you know, when you're trying so hard, and yet all of a sudden people are like giving you a cold shoulder, or they're giving you like a negative response, and it's like, all I'm trying to do is help you, right? And you and your business, you know. And I guess just shout out to you. You know, I started listening to you. I swear. It was back in like 2021-ish.
You're
or
OG.
So. I'm very OG. And then when I started going around like as an MI rep, that's all I did on the road, right? I made sure I had every single one of yours. Now, I'm a few behind now, but the plane ride home, I'm going to get caught up on it because, again, it's great content to go out and to talk to your lenders and to talk to your peers because there is a lot of good stuff, you know, especially when I think, you know, you were big with like the NAR stuff back in the day when that was happening.
I jokingly say we broke the NAR commission settlement lawsuit. We didn't break it. But I think we were one of the first to start talking about it because I had an episode that was probably 9 months before the actual lawsuit came about where we talked about it. But yes.
Yeah, no, so a lot of great stuff. And I've enjoyed listening. And obviously, you know, over the years, you know, you could tell, like, that's kind of the other thing is I know you've been doing this for a long time. And it's like, man, it's going to be a lot for me to get on DO's level because you have, what, 700?
We're over 600 episodes. We've been doing it for 6 years. It's 2 episodes a week, every single week.
Yeah.
We had a time period where we dropped it down to 1 episode a week. And that was during a hiatus. We were rebuilding the studio. Karina was getting trained up. John was taking a back seat, right? So we kind of had that for anyone who probably tuned in between episodes, probably, I'm guessing like 550 and 600 kind of time period. But yeah, it's like anything though. You start doing it. It took us episode 41, Nick. Episode 41, if you go to YouTube, has 86,000 views. It was episode 41 that actually kind of in a way put us on the map. But it was also 41 that you can start picking up that we found our cadence. The whole ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus. John and I were figuring each other out. And even our set design changed. We once were like, we started off like blue, then orange became our color. And we only had 1 camera. Then we went to multiple cameras. And heck, if you go back to YouTube, there's episodes where there's no video because our camera didn't work or we didn't even have a camera. It's just an orange title slate and the audio put behind it. And even still, like we get some feedback, especially over the past 3-4 months when we've been going through this growth where we're trying new equipment, we're trying new sets, we're trying new guests, and it's not all working. But I'm one of those people that good enough never is, and we have to get 1% better per day. I'm fine taking 1 step back if it means I can take 2 steps forward. Right on your end, you're just trying to get this thing launched. So you just have to go find your who's going to actually set up your equipment and produce it for you, and then pay them the $100 that's going to take and record your first episode. Find your first guest, and then make sure you have 2 guests right behind it so that you don't lose out on your cadence and your rhythm. When you started running, were you running 3 miles without stopping?
No.
Were you running 2 miles without stopping?
Not first, no.
How about 1 mile without stopping?
No, probably not even then.
6'4", 275-pound Nick with his 300-pound brother.
Yeah.
Right? Both with their own medical issues. Yours is diabetes. His was high blood pressure. Right? You all couldn't even run a mile when you got started, yet you're getting ready to run your second marathon. And I think that's how life works if we're just willing to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, allow ourselves to make mistakes, and then put ourselves out there, and we just don't give up because we get up every morning, put on our uniform, we go to work. Because when we need to, we say next, right? We acknowledge that some will and some won't, but it doesn't really matter. Who cares? Move on. And I'm going to build and learn as I grow. And if I'm in business, it's okay if somebody doesn't like me. It's not okay if they don't respect me. It's not okay if they don't trust me. But it's okay if they don't like me if I'm not their cup of tea, because I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Sometimes I say fuck, shit, and damn. Sometimes I'll run through a brick wall just to grab what's on the other end, and that type of drive is a little bit overbearing or scary for some people. Sometimes I won't shut up, right? Those are all reasons why someone wouldn't want to necessarily spend a lot of time with me. But as long as they trust me, as long as they think I'm a good human, I think that's what matters most. Nick, let me ask you this. People want to follow you. People want to catch up with you, whether it's for business purposes. Because, by the way, I called you an account executive earlier. Is that your title, account manager, account executive?
Well, senior account executive.
Yeah, because you have gray and you're 40.
I'm getting closer to being a senior citizen.
Yes. So, no, but you're also experienced in the industry. But, yeah, so you're a senior account executive with eLend. And, so obviously, for all of our banks and our community lenders out there and our brokers, right, if you're looking for a great wholesale account manager based out of the Midwest, like Nick's your dude. And you should check out what eLend is doing. If you're not set up with eLend, like you should look into what eLend is doing, because you and I were talking offline that you guys are doing big things. You have great leadership. You're in hyper growth mode, and it's a great opportunity for you, but it's also a great opportunity for people to maybe partner with eLend. But if they want to connect with you, how do they connect with you?
I think my LinkedIn is at Nick Mundorf, and There is a lot of content. Like I've learned over the years, to keep posting and keep working, right? That's the easy way of, getting a message out to people and not always be in front of them.
Okay.
And so we've actually,
your best way is LinkedIn. First name Nick, last name Mundorf.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause in my I do have an Instagram, and that's like running diabetic Nick. And somebody's like, are you a diabetic gambler? And I was like, well, I guess a running diabetic gambler. I'm like, no, it's I just like to run and I'm diabetic, which kind of throws a little bit of a curveball into running. But I would say LinkedIn is where I'm most on. So I'm glad you brought up, I guess, eLend again. We have the cool thing about this job is they want me to promote, they're big with brokers, right? So they want me to promote the financial institutions. So we're talking credit unions, banks. We already have some good accounts signed up and looking to grow. And, honestly, that's the one cool thing about this industry is when I was known that I was losing my job at the last place, there were so many people. Even we talked a little bit about some different contacts. And, there's just been such... the industry has such great camaraderie, and the people, and everybody wants to help everybody, and I think that is one reason why I would never leave the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
So,
no, Nick, I so appreciate you obviously being in Orlando, but taking the time to come over, hang out with me, hang out with Karina, let the audience get to know you, right? Really participate in being a part of TLOP, and I got to tell you, I hope everyone pulls something from for those who can't. I think there's a lot that we can really sit with individually, let it process, let it simmer. Mm-hmm. And, I'll say to you all, if you like episodes like this, and this is your first time tuning in, maybe you're a friend of Nick's or you're a client of Nick's, do me a favor. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you click that subscribe button. Our YouTube channel has more than just podcast episodes. I have free sales training, free coaching. We have other types of content such as the DO show. We have Talk Mortgage to Me, Coach's Corner, Mortgage School. Our YouTube channel is the #1 resource for free sales training and free coaching for the entire mortgage industry. And we have plenty of content for even home buyers and real estate agents. So it's content that you can share if you're in the mortgage industry with the clients and the customers that you serve. If you like listening and maybe you're tuned in right now on Spotify and Apple, I say thank you. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. The more reviews we get, the more opportunities we get to attract more people like you to listen to our show and to gain value from it. And then lastly, if you are a mortgage originator, broker, VP of lending, producing branch manager, whatever you want to call yourselves these days, and you're looking to invest in your success, you got to check out our coaching program. All the information can be found on our website, which is tloponline.com. He's Nick. I'm Dustin Owen. You've just tuned in to Loan Officer Podcast. That's all the time we have for you today, but we look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.